My first questions are going to go to Tiana. I guess I'm just curious, toward the end of your opening remarks, you commented on recommendations that you would leave with the committee. I know that you got cut short. I actually would invite you to repeat the ones that you listed during your opening remarks and perhaps go a little bit deeper in terms of your explanation of those recommendations and why they would be so important to us. And then, of course, to add any additional recommendations that maybe you didn't have the chance to get to at that point in time.
Absolutely. I appreciate that question, especially because I felt definitely the need that there were a few that were left unmentioned. The first being that there have to be monetary consequences for the platforms that fail to comply with Canada's safety regulations and work with the government. And I say that because these are, we call them platforms, they're businesses, they're corporations that make hundreds of millions, billions of dollars off of their consumers. And any other space, we make sure that we have regulations in place for corporations to keep them accountable to their consumers. And unfortunately, what we've seen is it's the monetary piece that keeps these platforms accountable. So that's one that I would, and in BC, we have legislation with regards to non-consensual intimate image sharing, where we do hold companies accountable monetarily. The second one being that there should be straightforward reporting channels with time restrictions on response times. So being able to report anything related to sexual exploitation, child sexual exploitation, or sexual content needs to be not dealt with with an automatic or automated AI bot that decides whether or not it meets the threshold. It should be met with an actual agent and individuals. There needs to be a very quick response time, especially with regards to child sexual exploitation reports. And again, consequences in place if the platforms are not meeting those needs. Mandated minimum age requirements and enforced age verifications. Yes, social media is a powerful tool. I don't believe it's appropriate at all under a certain age. I don't believe that children under the age of 16 should have access to social media platforms because they're not made for children. The ones that they are connecting with are not made for children. And I know that that's a contentious point for many people. I strongly encourage algorithm protection so that minors are not exposed to harmful or inappropriate influencers and are not, predetermined and predestined of what they're going to have, what kind of content is going to be put forth towards them the second they sign up, just because their identity is male or female or whatever their age is. I would like to see a ban on targeted advertising to minors. Because again, it's just a different ballgame. It's not the same as watching TV or a movie and having an ad come in place. I'd like to see oversight for child influencer accounts to prevent exploitation. And of course, and many of these platforms are trying to put this in place, but definitely having a default prevention of adult contact with minors. That's where that age verification piece, I believe, is incredibly important. And this includes restricting direct messages and just a heightened review of sexualized content or accounts with large minor followings.
Thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. I just want you to go a little bit more into detail. When you said algorithmic protection, what exactly does that mean?
So as it stands right now, depending on how you sign up on a platform, because a lot of them, they ask your gender or they assume your gender with your age. And what I've seen is if you are a boy, and you sign, or if you're a man and you sign up with a social media account, it doesn't matter what your interests are. You are fed a very specific type of content. It's predetermined. It is predestined for what you're going to consume. And that content is oftentimes shocking, violent, provocative. And then it kind of, leads especially young boys who don't have that ability to maintain so much control over their consuming of content, just access to vulnerability. So when I say algorithmic protections, I'm talking about these platforms not being able to predetermine an algorithm based off of somebody's identity when they're signing up if they are a minor.
Thank you. No, I thank you very much. I understand that, and definitely see your point there. I guess I want to dive a little bit deeper into one more point that you made, and that was just with regards to increasing the minimum age that a person needs to be in order to have a social media account. So recently, we've seen Australia implement legislation that requires a person to be 16 years of age or older in order to hold an account. I'd be curious about your thoughts on that. You also talk about meaningful age verification, so I would suppose that that would be the way you would suggest we make sure that that's enforceable. But maybe you can just dive a little bit deeper into that.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're seeing Denmark do that. We're seeing Australia do that. I just don't want to see Canada be left behind. I think it's necessary because these social media platforms, just the way that they work, the dynamics, again, these are companies that intentionally use their systems and even the language in which they define the tools that the platform provides. I mean, it's just harmful, and it's going to result in harm. So I think that as a government, and again, this holds the accountability to the platforms where we have minimum age, and that, again, not all platforms are created the same. So that verification can be flexible depending on what kind of platform we're talking about. I think that it would be effective. And age verification, I mean, people are concerned about security. Well, they already have all the information that they need. You know, a kid showing their passport photo so that they can be protected from exploitation and violence and self-harm, I think is well worth it when that information is already out there for these companies.